I made a video the other day talking about how MLB's top 10 official players list was a mess, with some choices I thought were a little odd, most notably who they had ranked 9th and 10th. But, oh boy, was I not prepared for what I think might be the dumbest list I've ever seen MLB Network, or for that matter, any major network come up with. And it's not just that they got arguably 7 out of 10 spots wildly wrong in my estimation, but they actually, potentially unknowingly, inverted one of their choices from their previous list. An oversight that is downright laughable. We'll start there. One of the small protests I had made in that previous video was on Tarik Skubal being ranked below Paul Skeens. I didn't think it was a big deal because Skeens has been so dominant in his first few years in the bigs, but I did think it was worth pointing out. Well, in their recently released top 10 starting pitchers ranking, which I double checked was done by MLB as well, the Tigers lefty is now first. Inexplicably. Remember, this list is supposed to have a through line with the top 100, otherwise it really doesn't make any sense. In fact, they were both published in articles by the same author as well, so you can't say it was a game of telephone. Again, I think this was the right designation, but it doesn't change how funny of a misstep it was. In order to have a coherent ranking system, you can't just move guys around between lists. But that's only the start of the ridiculousness, because, you see, moving to their third ranked overall selection, we see Zach Wheeler. Now, the list specifically points out that this is pitchers who are ranked heading into 2026, not just in the game generally speaking. So it's with this in mind, I ask, how on earth can you put somebody who just went through a major arm surgery, and who's probably not going to even be ready for opening day, as your third overall selection in productivity for the upcoming season? I'm not saying he should be outside of the top 10, but with some of the other guys that could have been in consideration for this spot, it makes zero sense. In my opinion, it seems pretty obvious that this should have went to Garrett Crochet, as the lefty last year led his league in innings pitched, batters faced, strikeouts, and strikeout rate, only being kept from winning the Cy Young by a dominant Tarik. The Red Sox hurler is also set to be 27 in comparison to Wheeler's 36. However, their selection right after this is somehow even more bizarre, because Garrett doesn't follow. Instead, it's Chris Sale, who had an excellent 2025, mind you, essentially replicating all the numbers from his Triple Crown Cy Young season the year before. The only issue is that he threw less than 130 innings for the 4th time in the last 5 years, and is set to be 37 coming into 2026. How can you justify putting him over Garrett when his numbers were arguably as good on the surface, let alone considering the sample size difference, let alone considering the age gap? I think the same argument also applies here for Yoshinobu Yamamoto, who somehow didn't get the same postseason boost as Vladimir Guerrero Jr. did at the end of MLB's top 100 players. You're telling me somebody who's 27 with a 2.66 career ERA through 263 innings in his first 2 years in the big leagues, with an all-star selection, top 3 Cy Young finish, and more than 10 strikeouts per 9, isn't a top 4 pitcher in the game? Instead, you're going to rank him behind 2 guys roughly 10 years older with significant injury concerns? So yeah, to recap, logically in my opinion, you'd have to have Crochet 3rd and Yamamoto 4th. At number 5, Christopher Sanchez is pretty much the only one that I agree with outside of Skubal and Skeens. I don't think this is a bad spot for him. The lefty's been on a consistent upward trajectory in the last 3 seasons, and has also improved his raw stuff drastically year over year. That's a completely fair placement. Up through number 9, my issue would be that Hunter Brown and Max Fried deserve to be pushed up as well, probably to 6 and 7, with Wheeler and Sale then sliding in behind them at 8 and 9. I don't have as much of an issue with these designations, but again, they are irritating. The last instance of just unabashed stupidity, in my opinion, comes in putting Hunter Greene, a pitcher who's never had a season where he threw over 151 innings in his career, ahead of notable contenders like Jacob deGrom, Brian Wu, or Logan Webb, all of whom crossed this threshold in 2025 with some very impressive numbers to go along with it. Particularly Webb, who has led his league in innings pitched the last 3 seasons, batters faced and games started the last 2, and strikeouts in 2025, placing no less than top 6 in Cy Young voting every year since 2023. Yeah, Greene obviously has the better raw stuff, but I would think we'd need to see at least 1 full season from him before we designate him a top 10 pitcher in the game over somebody like Logan, or somebody with the pedigree of deGrom, or the insane efficiency of a Wu. Anyway, that's my take on all of it. You guys be sure to let me know what you think in the comments below.
Alright everybody, if you made it this far, I appreciate you watching, and if you did, consider checking out any of these other videos on your screen right now for other content just like this. Also, if you ever see anything you'd like to see me detail in the video, feel free to reach out to my email, basebpoet@gmail.com, and if I end up using your idea, I'll give you a shout out. Thanks for watching, have a great rest of your day.